have 45 minutes up to a 90-minute session of REM activity. So when you start to get into a patterns of sleep, you want to take note of when you go to sleep, and then ideally to wake up every 2 hours and to do a meditation practice so that you're more alert and aware when you go back to sleep. So I know that may be intense for a lot of people starting off, so what I recommend doing is to interrupt between the 3rd and 4th REM cycle. Because if you get up just for 15 or 20 minutes and you get up and you get online and you read about dreaming, or if you get out a book, or even if you just go into the kitchen and do some dishes, or my favorite is to go up in a handstand, just to get the mind really alert. And what it does is you'll have what's known as an REM rebound effect, so that when you go to sleep during the 3rd or 4th cycle, you won't just have that 45 minutes or an hour of REM activity, it'll actually double. So you can have an hour and a half to up to 2 hours of REM activity, and it's during REM activity that you feel the most rested. So usually one of the first questions people ask is, when you do this, are you more tired? And it's like, no, you actually have more energy, because you actually have a lot more REM activity. And if you manage to get lucid, you wake up in the morning and you're like, super psyched and ready and energetic for the day. It's like, really, it's the best experience ever. All right, so positioning when you go to sleep is super important. If you sleep face down, like this on a pillow, it's known as the Apaswara position, the downward facing corpse, and it's the most unconscious position you can sleep in. So it's really hard to remember dreams, and not only that, but it's horrible for your spine and your neck. So if you can't get out of that, sleeping on your back is okay. If you use several pillows to elevate your spine, or even sleeping in a hammock is ideal, because the whole body is cradled and the head is higher than your heart. So you'll be more mentally alert of your position in space, and you'll be able to wake up a little easier in the dreams. Besides that, the other two positions are the lion position. So it's said that men want to sleep on the right side, like this, with their hands supporting the side of their head, and women want to sleep on the left side. Okay, so in the Tibetan tradition, on the masculine side is said to be the more positive energy. I'm going to flip over. Gotcha. And the left side for feminine is going to be the positive side, the feminine energy. So you actually want to sleep on that side so that you open up the opposing channel, right? So if I was going to sleep on my left side, I would have like double masculine energy, all right? So I may have really aggressive dreams. So if I sleep on my right side, that's going to open up the left side, the feminine channel, so I'll have more clear, positive dreams. And then women will want to do the opposite. They sleep on the left to open up the right side. So if you have a partner of the opposite sex, which isn't required, but if you sleep together, that puts you back to back, because the humans are basically organic magnetic crystals, and so that allows the energy to circulate freely so that you support each other in the dream space. Also, ideally, you would want to sleep with your head facing north so that you're aligned with the Earth's magnetic flow. Anybody else have any questions about that?
You have a question to him.
Yeah. Question? Well, I'm going to get yours in a second. So we went over notebook, we went over REM interruption, we went over sleep position, and then also staying in remembrance that life is a dream throughout the day. I'm going to get one more thing and then I'll get a question.
How do you know when you hit moksha, like when you break the chain of samsara? Like, how do you know if you did that?
Okay, let me get that towards the end, because that's a finality question. The other thing is you have to, the intention is super strong. All right, so most people just like, they intend and they're like, oh, I want to have a lucid dream. That's not it. You have to intend to intend. You have to take your intention by the scruff of the neck, and you have to shake it vigorously until it comes true. All right, so most people, when they set an intention, they put a little effort into it, and it gets hard, and then they quit and they give up, maybe after a few weeks. But it's really, really difficult. So you have to really double your efforts. You have to intend to intend, and it requires prospective memory. Okay, so we've all had the experience of when we have to wake up at like 6 in the morning, and then we'll wake up at 5:59 before our alarm clock goes off, right? It's because our mind, we can program it to wake up at a certain time. So if we set an intention like, oh my gosh, I want to wake up consciously in my dream at this time. Okay, so you can, it's very difficult to do maybe that night, but if you work and you build the dreaming energy over several days or weeks or a month, and you set an intention like you're throwing a flag, a pole way out into space within time's progression, then you have a much better chance of developing lucidity.
Your second response actually added to my next question. So I can do that. Like, I wake up, I can be like, I'm going to sleep for 20 minutes, and I'll sleep exactly for 20 minutes. But the question is that when you're sleeping at night and you're doing this thing where you stop sleeping, you wake up and you do something for 15 minutes, how do you prevent yourself from getting caught up into something else and then coming back to bed? Because I wake up in the middle of the night, but it's not because I'm intending to.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between the two?
Between, I'm sorry, let me refine your question.
Yeah, but between like...
Randomly waking up and doing, okay, all right. So in the beginning, you may have to set an alarm clock. for like every 2 hours to do it. And then what I found is that after a while, your body just gets into that rhythm. Like I wake up every 2 hours normally to the annoyance of my girlfriend. But, but if you can do that naturally, or even just set the alarm, you know, beside your bed to get up, and it doesn't take long. Just sit up for 5 or 10 minutes and think about like where you just were consciously in your dream, and then think about what your intention is of what you want to do in the dream. All right, so the first intention, what everybody should do is to find your hands. Okay, so like I said, when you're in the dream and you realize you're dreaming, the first conscious action is look at your hands, and that sustains the focal point of your awareness, and it centers you in the dream body, so then you can go forth and manipulate the dream however you need to.
We see like the woman look at them.
So what we've learned from Lena is that women will want to look at their hands like this, because throughout the day you guys always are checking out your nails, and guys will go like this. So it doesn't matter either way. But it's great if you're a girl and you just did your nails, or throughout the day if you're checking them out, when you look at them, say, oh, I'm dreaming, and like study the details. Oh, I'm in a dream. This is my dream hands, you know, and repeat that over and over again like it's a mantra. Because the more you tell yourself that you're dreaming while you're awake, then the more that thought is just going to consciously, spontaneously happen while you're in the dream. If you never tell yourself that you're dreaming while you're conscious right now, you're never going to tell yourself you're dreaming when you're in a dream. Okay?
So you're prior to going to sleep, you're putting yourself into the dream state.
Yes.
And you're modeling it.
Yeah. You can even, one of the techniques that I gave to the boys, which is actually how I got here, some of the Summit guys came to my dreaming class, and 2 weeks later we did some private sessions, some meditation, and I told them to take a drawing of their hand, just trace out their hand like this, and then write I am dreaming above it, or this is a dream, and post it like on every wall within their room, and they did that. And 2 weeks later they started having lucid dreams, and they called me up, they're like, hey, we're dreaming, we want you to come out and present this class. So anybody can really do it. Some people have done it after just hearing the information from this class. Some people do it like the first night. Other people, it may take 2 weeks, it may take 6 weeks, it may take 6 months. You know, it just depends on like how ready you are for it and how strong your intention is. Yeah.
I'm doing this for him, but I just want to say there's an iPhone app that wakes you up every 2 hours.
Oh, cool.
And keeps you in a cycle, so you guys
great.
can look it up. I don't know the exact name, but it's for him.
Awesome.
Ken,
Yeah.
I had a question from behind.
Yeah.
Thanks again for sharing this. It's awesome. I want to know if this example falls within the context of lucid dreaming. So when I was 5 or 6, I used to have nightmares for a few days. I remember speaking to my father about it, and he said, you know, I found myself falling off buildings and things of that sort. And he said you can control yourself in the dream, and instead of falling off the building, you can fly and things of that sort.
Exactly.
And literally, I don't think I've ever had a nightmare since. But I didn't think of it in the context of lucid dreaming. Is it the same thing, or is it different in terms of controlling your dreams, or not necessarily?
Yeah, it's whenever you're like in a fearful situation, like if you find yourself falling, is one of the best ones, because if you're awake at that point, if you do a mental spin, like you're falling over your shoulder, you spin like this, in your mind you'll actually recreate a new dream, and you'll wake up in a new dream. The first few times you do this, you'll have what's known as a false awakening, where you'll wake up and you thought that you woken up in your bed, and you'll get up and start to move around, and then all of a sudden you'll get freaked out because you realize you're still in a dream, and then you'll wake up right again in your bed. It's really, really crazy.
So that's a reset.
Yeah, it's like a reset button. Another thing, let me talk about the dream content. Is in the West, there's a big tendency to interpret the dreams, to look for psychological meaning. They don't do that in the East. What they do is they may want to look at the content of the dream and what like chakra, what energy center is it aligned with the body. So if you have like a fearful or angry dream, it could be very root chakra. If it's a very sexual dream, it could be very second chakra. It's a very loving, open heart, compassionate. And obviously that's going to be heart chakra. And then speaking your truth will be throat chakra. Perception of clear reality will be brow chakra, and so forth. So they don't get into interpreting the dream, because any meaning you place on the dream is truly subjective. Like it's not based in outer reality. So they don't fall into that pitfall, basically. They just look at where the energy is, why did that energy arise in the dream, and then how do you, absorb that energy in your waking life, so that you can either overcome that karmic pattern, or you can use that experience to become more conscious and focused in the dream state. Yeah. Okay, awesome question. All right, so after you find your hands,
What was the question?
What kind of dreams should you aspire towards? All right, let me answer that in 2 different ways. All right, so you have normal dreams, or karmic dreams, which is just like random scattered stories that overlap throughout the night. You have clear light dreams, which maintain a singular theme or story throughout the night with reoccurring dream characters. And then you can have lucid dreams, where you're fully conscious and you can create the dream realm. Okay, so after you find your hands in the dream, you want to overcome the 4 elemental fears of our consciousness in the dream, so that you have full control of the terrain, basically. The fear of the air element is the fear of the ability to fly. The fear of the earth element is the ability to walk through walls or doors or glass walls. The fear of the water element is to be able to enter a body of water consciously and submerge yourself and breathe underwater. And then the fear of the fire element is the ability to enter and sit in meditation in the fire without the sensation of getting burned. So I've experienced all 4 of those in the last year. Fire was probably the hardest one to work on. But I'm sorry, what? Can you feel pain? Yes, you can. And it can be more real or just as real as the real experience. Like Jeremy, who's on the summit team, we both, for some reason, have had the experience of trying to walk through a glass door, a wall, and the glass shatters, and then all the glass can get stuck on our feet. And then we have to pull the glass out, which is excruciating. I don't know how that happens. Sometimes the glass acts like taffy or tar, and it's like you're trying to pull it off of you. Other times it can just shatter. Do you have an escape mechanism? Like what do you do? Anytime, like for me, it's like if I've never wanted to actually get out of a lucid dream, but sometimes lucid dreams can trigger out-of-body experiences to where you wake up and then you're looking at yourself in the bed, or I'm looking at my girlfriend. And after a while, they can get a little freaky. Sometimes I'll just be like, wake up, this is enough, and I'll immediately wake up. There's a movie, The Waking Life, where there's a story by Richard Linklater, the director. It's a really great movie. Everybody should check it out. Where the kid's having false awakenings throughout the night, and he didn't know how to wake up out of it. And at the end, the director is in the movie, and he just finally says, "Oh, it's easy. Just wake up," you know. So I've never had that problem of not being able to wake up in a lucid dream. Anytime you want to, you just do it.
Are the 4 fears associated with the 4 chakras? Like the first one?
I could be, but then you would have to add in some of the other fears. There's 7 chakras of the body, and then there's other ones. There's 13 above. So I'm not familiar with that. I wouldn't want to say yes or no.
Can you start walking us through the steps of trying to initiate a practice?
Yeah. So like I said, the first thing is get a dream notebook. Write down all of your dreams at night, even if they don't make sense. And it doesn't have to be like a story like starting at the beginning. Most of the time you'll start at the end of the dream and you'll start to go backwards to the beginning. And it's not like you're going to go back and read it over or share it with people. It's just a mental exercise to get you thinking about dreaming, so that the first thing you do when you wake up is, where was I? Like, what was I just thinking about? What was I dreaming? Because the tendency is we wake up and automatically remind ourselves of like what role we're playing in this world and what we have to do that day. And we get up and we're automatically locked into our karmic patterns of the same energetic progression throughout the day. So if you can just pause that when your mind's a clear slate, like a blank blackboard, and just feel it. Just feel like, where was I? What was I doing? And the cool thing is when you get into that space, like throughout the day, all the time I'll see things that remind me of my dream. Like I'll be like, oh my gosh, I saw that in my dream. And then when I see that, it's almost like a flag or a point in my space of perception where I can be like, okay, I can make like my normal habitual choice, or I can do something completely crazy that I'm not going to do, or I wouldn't normally do. And that'll take you in a whole different direction that can be completely exciting and keep you in remembrance of the dream.